Greetings, allies. It is Monday, March 9th, and this is your Cup of Jones. Things might look a little different. You might be like, wait a minute, he's in a different room, I think. Welcome back to the garage, allies. Cheers. Happy Monday. Let me know if everything looks okay and sounds okay, because I have a new setup going on here. Well, it's an old setup, really. It's a setup that I'm definitely familiar with. I have set it up here before. If you are curious, this is the old corner that the camera used to be pointed at when we were doing shows back in the garage. I am back in the garage. We are in the garage right now. This is the week for weird announcements. The reason why I'm in the garage is because Amanda and I are moving houses. Just elsewhere in Los Angeles. We're going to get a bigger house for Milo for lots of different reasons, financial reasons as well. Yeah, we're in the house market. So we're going to be selling the classic Easy Allies house. I saw somebody who visited the home that the creator of Superman grew up in. I don't know if one day there will be a plaque on the front of this house to say that this is where Easy Allies started. I think one of the major things that's super fun about the move is finally going to get an office. It's like one of the goals is like I had an office here when we started Easy Allies. We're like, not really. I am in a garage. I am in this giant room that's very echoey. So it'll be nice to get a room that I can actually soundproof, a room that I can actually, the only thing that's going on in that room is me editing and making shows and doing stuff. Committing more to hopefully maybe like live streaming a little bit more, getting back to solo streams and stuff. There's just a lot of stuff that I haven't really been able to focus on, or would have been a little bit more of a headache because of moving around and not only having a little boy who is soon to be 9 months old, but having to move around that child and have move beds and desks and everything. But we're going to be showing the house off, obviously, to sell it, and a giant desk in the middle of the living room, isn't really like the look that we were going for, so it made sense to move back onto the garage. But also means that we obviously should do something. I can't promise when that's going to be. We're going to put the house on the market. I won't be making that public. I'm not like, live in the Easy Allies house. Hoping to do that before the end of the month, maybe next month. So it'll be sometime before this summer, maybe, that I will be moving on from this property that has done so many wonderful things to me. And we will definitely mark the occasion in some way. We will definitely honor this wonderful garage before we move on. But yeah, it's a big week for announcements. If you missed it yesterday on Patreon, I imagine you probably did not, but there's a chance you might have. We have decided to cancel EasyX, which is our 4th anniversary celebration. And I want to do a whole editorial on it. So I don't really want to get into it now. I do want to get into it now as soon as possible. But there's just a couple other things that I want to get into. This announcement, this setup, which is, I don't got Sophie in here. I got Amanda's taking Milo to the beach to go jogging around. But it is nice just being alone in a room for a change, being excluded, being kind of like cut off, being able to focus on the studio, move into the studio. Live in the studio. But let's just get a couple things. These are all very self-serving. We have a pretty awesome schedule, but nothing really specifically to talk about at the top of the show. I will go into the schedule before I get into the editorial, but just want to talk about some specific bits about the schedule. Tomorrow's Hall of Greats. That's always a big deal. Not prepared at all for Hall of Greats. I will not have a big fancy monologue. I will not have a video prepared. I will not have gameplay to accompany the points that I will hopefully make. I am not prepped at all. Sometime today, I really got to think about that because I've been thinking about a lot of other things. But it is Hall of Greats, and we will all be in attendance. Ian was, I believe, not going to be there because he was going to be at GDC, but he will be there. Blood will be there. Ian was going to be taking off for other plans, but I believe Ian will be there. I might be talking ahead of myself. I'm not sure. But I believe all hands will be on. I'm just, I don't have a game yet. I do not have a game prepped at all. I got to think about that today. I've been working really hard on, I don't know if you can see the bags under my eyes. I said put a light up there. I don't know if the light's a little too intense focusing on the bags, but I was up late last night, loving every minute of it, really having a good time working on the wrap-up video for Silver Squad, which a lot of people got some tweets, got some people, I think one person specifically asks in this episode of Cup of Jones, like, where is that? I thought that was going to be a couple weeks ago. And, we had other things planning and then now subsequently unplanning for EZX. And it just in general kind of, I've never cut a video like this before, so I just kind of bit off like a little bit more than I could chew. I'm chewing on it right now, and I will finish chewing on it. And I'm just having a blast because it's very unlike anything I've done. It's very unlike anything we have done, and it is getting a lot better. I'm anytime in the video where I talk about art, it's kind of fun to put in that art, to go to close up on the two of us, to do a super close up on myself or Bossman to accentuate things. A couple of really fun moments where we scream and shout, and it was kind of fun to like copy paste those moments and watch them again, maybe a little bit slowed down, or do other things for emphasis on those various events. And if you haven't seen anything of Silver Squad, if you missed the full stream that we did where I showed all of that stuff off, it's pretty fun. I don't know if I'm just enjoying it selfishly because I was in it, and it was a very fun memory that I will always share with Kyle Bossman. But it's pretty fun to go back through, and it's fun to go back through the arc of a stream, especially a full playthrough this way. And so I am really taking my time with it. I'm really kind of massaging the edit and making sure all the little finer points are cleaned up. And hopefully you will enjoy watching it when that goes up on YouTube. One fun thing to look forward to is two fun things to look forward to. If you've already seen it on Twitch, you're like, boy, this is taking really long. I forgot about Silver Squad by the time you finally post this thing. Two things that are fun on it. One is timestamps, which the video on Twitch does not have. If you're feeling down and you want to catch a Dunsparce vicariously through myself and Kyle Bossman, you can always go back to our YouTube channel and click on the time codes and jump to various exciting parts of Silver Squad. And at the very end, I'm including some of the moments, some of the funnier moments, some of the more relevant moments where we look at the art at the beginning of some of the episodes, and and then at the end of the whole video, I'm going to do a little art montage. I'm going to do a little bit where we look at all of the art that we did not focus on throughout the edits, grab some music from Pokemon Silver, and just celebrate all of the wonderful creative outpouring of beautifully encapsulated memories that were given to us throughout that definitely unique stream. And so I'm about 3.5 hours through what was originally a 4.5 hour edit. It will probably get down to about 4 minutes 5 seconds, or 4 hours 5 minutes, 4 hours 10 minutes, something around there. And I'm about 3:20, I think, through it. So I should be able to finish that today or tomorrow. That will definitely go up this week. I will be talking about that in the past tense on the next episode of Cup of Jones. So it'll definitely be a big Tootsie art montage for sure. And apologies to everybody who does not care about Silver Squad that's been listening to me for the last couple minutes. Because I've been focusing on that, because I've been focusing on administrative stuff, I haven't done a Trailer Jones in a while. I haven't done Trailer Jones in like 5 weeks. And I just want to apologize for that. Again, there's no... Trailer Jones really follows the trends. I don't think there has been anything. There's a new Ghost of Tsushima trailer, new Final Fantasy VII trailer, some kind of fun art house trailers, some fun weird trailers that people sent to me, some fun examples of stuff, but like there hasn't really been a huge like Nintendo Direct. There was that Animal Crossing update, obviously, but that was more of like a gameplay focused thing. So just haven't really had anything that I've been like, whoa, okay, it's worth like not sleeping tonight to get this done. But thank you so much to the community. I'm going to be doing lots of thanking today for giving me some time to focus on other stuff other than Trailer Jones. Trailer Jones is definitely a show that's going to dodge and weave based on my responsibilities. Hopefully, if after I move houses and get my own studio, get my own room where I can soundproof and get better lights and set stuff up more permanently, maybe I can have more time to focus on. Maybe a little easier to get some of that stuff done. Definitely need to address that. And I'm going to do my editorial today first. We have a couple of questions, one before the cancellation, one after the cancellation, and so I'm going to bring those up during our editorial, but I just got to talk about EZX. Apologies for taking a long time to get into that. But before I do that, let's look at our schedule, which is... over there. There we go. Cup of Jones is changing, everybody. It's over there now. What side will it be on when I move into a new house? Who knows? Cup of Jones, you're watching it. The Resident Evil remake continues with Mike and Mike, which is later today. Tomorrow, The Stream Team game is The Matrix Path of Neo, which I actually really enjoyed. I remember, I think Damiani was looking for a copy of that, so I'm glad that he picked that up. I had a fun time playing Matrix Path of Neo, and it's going to be interesting to see those guys play it. I'm sure the visual, it's a very blurry game. I don't know if that necessarily visually holds up. And then, like I said, tomorrow night's Holo Greats. I'm not prepared. I will be by tomorrow. Thursday is Huber Syndrome. Skipping Wednesday this week. Thursday's a big day. Huber Syndrome to kick it off. And then Mega Man Zero 2. Mana is over. Time for Mega Man Zero 2. That is very hype. I'm curious. RE Remake is just starting. They played RE4 last week. Got it. So RE Remake is just starting. Thank you for the heads up. We have, I believe it is in the calendar this week for us to do the spoiler mode for Castlevania. That is coming up. Thank you for the reminder. Even though the first game was scheduled. Thank you, Bloodworth, for the correction there. I got to catch me up on some Castlevania there. I got to watch that season. Quick. And then Dreams Lovers. A couple things that, one thing that I talked to Bossman about for Dreams Lovers for this Thursday is we are both going to prepare a document that is going to be our visualization of what we want the apartment to be. If you missed the first episode, we're going to be making a game called Who is in the Bathroom? Who is in my bathroom, I think. And it's going to be a game where you are in a house and one of the allies is in the bathroom and you have to figure out who is in the bathroom before you open the door. Otherwise, you're going to be in deep trouble. So that'll be exciting. Will we finish that game? Probably not. We'll probably move on to the game before we actually finish that. But if you would like to watch us fail at finishing a game or contribute some stuff, we will talk about specifically how that works in this episode. But considering we have 2 copies of Enter the Matrix in the library, I'm going to guess that's the one he did. Enter the Matrix and Path of Neo are 2 different games. Enter the Matrix, you play as Niobe, who I believe is Jin Pickett Smith. Yeah. Not gonna test my Matrix lore after only a couple hours of sleep. Well, we need to talk about EZX. Reaction shots on Friday. Banjo-Tooie continues with Kyle Bossman this Friday. Podcast for their respective days. Friday for early access, if you choose to be. Easy update, as always, on Saturday. And then Sunday, the Odyssey of Kyle going through as many Dreamcast games as he can stomach on Never Too Late to Dreamcast. There we go. We're going to skip on over to an editorial. See you on the other side. Cheers, everybody. A little awkward. I got the mic on that side now, so I gotta skip that way. Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching Cup of Jones. Thank you for tuning into Cup of Jones to get your continued EZX updates. Before I really get into specific details, I want to specify, and this is very important, that everything I'm about to say, because I'm about to say it off the cuff, I'm about to say it really with no safety net. No, I have a couple notes, but I really just kind of want to talk about what happened this weekend in the decision-making process, kind of what this means for us, obviously what I believe this means for you, although I cannot tell you that. I'm not going to begin to assume what this means for people that were looking forward to the event, conceptually, people that were planning to travel for the event. So I just want to talk, this is just me. This is just Brandon Jones talking to you, Easy Allies, specifically people, that show up live for Cup of Jones. This sucks. This sucks so bad. I feel bad because I don't want to, it feels uncomfortable slightly to express how much this sucks. Just for me personally to go through this and to make this decision and to do this to, frankly, some of our most dedicated allies, people that were willing to spend money on things, probably the least cheap things outside of healthcare, that you can spend money on, which is travel, which is lodging, which is, planning to visit a city that you would not otherwise plan to visit for one specific event. And then all of a sudden, in the month you were planning on doing that, going back and switching up those plans. It's impossible for me to say how that impacts everybody, because obviously it impacts everybody in different ways. Everybody has different budgets. Everybody has different plans. Everybody, lots of our allies live in different parts of the United States, different countries. And there was no way that this wasn't going to affect everybody and really be a big deal. And I think one of the differences between a lot of the cases that we were looking at in trying to make this decision for us, which seems like, we might have gotten the opportunity to potentially make this decision earlier. But one of the things that's so fundamentally different about us, and obviously big things like I know Rooster Teeth canceled one of their upcoming events. South by Southwest is canceled. GDC is postponed. E3 is on the chopping block probably. Just a lot of things, a lot of dominoes that you're just kind of watching fall one after the other after the other. Kicking it off, I think, with Sony leaving GDC was really kind of like the canary in the coal mine. And shout out to Alexander Zirianov, who brought this question very seriously up on Cup of Jones. And I regret, I don't know if aloof is the word, but, I definitely kind of dismissed it in terms of us not really being in that headspace yet. And there are reasons why. I don't want to go as far as to say, in Blood, please correct me if I'm like off base, or if Blood's like, I would just, specify the information. We are this is a much smaller gathering that actually factors into Captain Cat's question that was he made sadly before we made the cancellation, where he said, "Thank you for addressing the COVID-19 concerns. I'd planned West Coast travel for a while, but I'm still planning to take with proper precautions, of course, and had arranged it so that I could make it to EZX in the middle. Please know Pleased to know that both that and Disneyland are still a go, which obviously are not now. But your comment about no more than 200 attending had me wondering, was there a sign-up post I missed for either of both events? No, we have known specifically, and this was interesting, something that I thought of. It might have been good for us to have like free tickets, to basically set up something where it's like, if you're planning on attending, just at least go to this site and like quote unquote buy a ticket, like maybe have tickets be like $1, like 50 cents or something, just so we can get a head count. Because there are lots of things after the fact that we were thinking about, if we're making this cancellation, it'd be nice to know how many people are coming, and we don't know that because we wanted to do something, nice this year, which is make the EZX free for everybody. We didn't want, obviously, because people are spending money to head out, we were planning on attaching a Disneyland day on top of this, and so that's a pretty hefty financial proposition to have all of our people spending money to be available for all of those things, and so it felt icky to be charging everybody at the same time. Before, when we were really like renting a venue, and that was frankly more expensive than the venue that we rented this year. But we are definitely going to be losing money on EZX. There's no question about that. But that is besides the point. It was really the size that I think made this such a unique situation. It was the size of EZX itself. So we based that number, which I think it'd probably be around 120, I think max, just based on the last 3 years. So that number has grown gradually over the years. I think we had like 100 on the nose, and then a little over 100 the past 2 years when we had our various meetups. And so we just kind of based it on that. When I talked to the Hilton Anaheim we're scheduling, I was like, just less than 200. I'd be very surprised if that number breaks 200. And just not only that, but there are 9 allies that need to make this decision. 9 allies that ultimately we want to hear from, and we want to get opinions from when we are trying to figure out what we're going to do. And so it's difficult. So we can't all always be unified. I don't think we've ever all completely been unified 100%. I mean, like across the board on every decision that we've made, it's always kind of one or two people that, pitch something, and then everybody has their opinions. And then the 2 posts that we put up on Patreon this week, and thank you so much to everybody that, was very honest. A lot of people have been very supportive in the cancellation post that we put up. It's specifically on Saturday morning. We put up a post saying that we were thinking about it. I felt very guilty putting that post up because that sounded, it felt to a lot of us, we were nervous that we were kind of like passing on responsibility to our audience. And we were definitely, nervous, like, should we just make this call now? But it felt like, because we are financially supported, because we are crowdfunded, because even though we are spending Easy Allies money, our own money on this event, that is money that you gave us in the first place. That's money that we got from YouTube. That's money that we got from Twitch, that we got primarily from our Patreon, that we are then reinvesting in this event. And so it only made sense to speak to those investors, to speak to those people in our YouTube, Twitch, and most specifically Patreon community. via comments to figure out how everyone was feeling. You know, we didn't want to make it a poll. We didn't want to make something that people were voting on. We didn't want to entirely put that decision in the hands of our audience, but we definitely wanted that feedback. But at the same time, you know, I can imagine some people seeing that poster just like, make the announcement already. You know, it's just like writings on the wall. Come on. But it was a unique event. I think primarily one of the things that made us the most nervous right out of the gate is that, like, you know, we love all of you. I've met all of you so many and seen all of you so many times. I miss all of you. I want to give all of you a gigantic bear hug. You know, like, you know, I want to pass some germs around, man. We've done that. We've got, you know, devastatingly sick at, you know, Easy Allies anniversaries before. No regrets. Obviously, we could have been safer. Obviously, you know, we want everyone's health to be considered when we want to be safe at these events. But, like, I love all of you. I'm pissed I can't hang out with all of you. It is so frustrating. And so selfishly, you know, we really wanted to go forward with that despite these concerns, because it's celebrating our anniversary. Our 4th anniversary is a really big deal because we've been in the studio for a full year. EasyX was going to be its own special event. And, you know, especially after the concert last year, when I realized, like, let's not do something that showboats us so much. Let's not do something where we ask people to come in and then we see them just wave like, hey, in the line. And then, like, we watch them in the audience just kind of like, well, you guys are doing a big show. And then afterwards we're like sweaty and confused and like, oh, we got to wrap things up. We're like, hey, what's up? And then, like, very tired, see about 70% of you the next day at a park. Like, that just I didn't want to do that again. I want to do something where, you know, we would feature you more. We would celebrate you more. We would be able to spend more time with you. It would be more akin to what you're familiar with, you know, from Easy Allies, and a potential to possibly be a part of that entertainment, to create memories that would live forever, that you in turn would be a part of. And so I think that's the biggest, you know, knife in the heart for me, is that we changed EasyX this year. And granted, we would make this decision if it was another concert. We would make this decision no matter what we were doing. But specifically to you know, think of as many steps, as many ways as possible that we could change EasyX this year to be more of a gift, more serving our community, and then in turn make this decision at the end of the day that does the exact opposite of that. That you know, takes away entertainment than we had promised to our community, that you know, puts our community, you know, the people that are willing to make you know, such a huge financial investment to be a part of the things that we do, to continue to support us beyond how they are supporting us, to support us when it is our celebration, when, you know, we really should be supporting all of you. That is, again, that sucks. It just is very frustrating. And I got to be honest, definitely a low point. Not in Easy Allies in terms of, like, my morale is taking a hit here. Like, you know, this does not, obviously, you know, if anything, I love you, all of you, so much more for your support and your sympathy and your patience during this entire process. But this weekend was rough. All day Saturday, and I mean all day. We just went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth about this in Slack. We were sending private messages to each other. We were texting each other. Some allies on Saturday were planning on spending that day with their families. And we were like, if you could just not do the plan that you're doing right now, and you could just get in Slack, we could talk about this. And allies were all over the place about this. Again, this, you know, we obviously are unified in the decision that we made, but you know, allies were comfortable with the event. Some were definitely not. Some wanted to cancel right away. Some wanted to figure out a way that we could do it. And so when I say we did not make this decision lightly, I really need to emphasize, having worked with these guys, you know, having gone through all of the top 10s and GOATYs and you know, even going back, I'm not even kidding you, even going back to the room where I initially told the allies I wasn't really 100% sure if I was going to continue at Game Trailers with Defy Media, and having all of them in the room, including Matt Blair and Elise Willems, you know, everybody looking at me like, we would very much like you to come over to Defy Media. We would like to still keep working together. You know, we would like you to move over and become editor-in-chief. This ranks up there in terms of how long it took with the process, how unsure I felt in so many instances of whether we were making the right decision. There definitely was a sense of relief when we posted, you know, just kudos to my wife, Amanda, who I got to be honest. I put up the Patreon post and then just shut off my computer and just walked away from the world for like a couple hours because I was just like, man, I just don't want to deal with any of this for just a second. And then Amanda just jumped in those comments and she told me a little bit later, and I've gone back and read that stuff now, but she was just like, people are okay. They're okay. I think it's gonna be okay. Like they are supportive. They are understanding. And I knew there would be some of that because we're not the only people doing this. We're obviously not the only people canceling events. We're not the only people having to make these difficult decisions. Just speaking personally, how I feel about it. And, I'm not going to break down like how all the votes went, what all of the allies, how they felt about these things. But I got an 8.5-month-old child. And like, every time I would get up and would feed him in the morning, and I just like, am I going to have this event where it's like, did I get something on my hands? And then here I am like holding, washing bottles, holding all of these materials like blankets and literally holding him and just like, like it seems like it affects old people more than it affects kids, but like we don't know. Like there's still so much information coming out. And it's like, am I willing to, put my son's life at risk? And so then it became an instance of like, okay, do I just not go? But then it's like, is that what you're coming for? Is that fun, for you to be at an event that potentially all of the allies aren't at? If some allies just kind of come in and just wave at the crowd and they're like, okay, I got to go. I can't touch any of you. It's just like, and the fact that, I looked ahead at EZX being 2.5 weeks from now. And I thought about where we were with this virus 2.5 weeks ago, what things were still going on. South by Southwest still going on. Like some of these things are still being planned. They're still happening. There are companies that are still on the fence about stuff. And then now it's not even a question of, that stuff happening. And so thinking about like, where are we going to be in 2.5 weeks? What's the world going to be like then? Amanda is, having to turn down really fun opportunities to go audition for stuff because it's like, I'd have to travel. And do I feel like doing that right now? Like, Amanda's, my mother-in-law was planning to come out, canceled. Amanda was going to go up to visit one of her best friends in the whole world for her to, see Milo all grown up and for Milo to spend time with her 2 girls, canceled, my dad, who is who just turned 70, is going to be 79 this December. Immune system is not doing terribly well. And my mom really looks after my dad. And so whenever my mom comes over to look after Milo, which has been a lot, she, she was here yesterday and then was here 2 weeks ago because we're moving. And so we're packing up the house. And so we needed her to come by and look after Milo and yada, yada. I'm going on and on, but like, so I cannot not be around my dad because I need my mom to be here to look after Milo. And so she's got to bring my dad because my dad has to be here with her. And so I'm just, there are ways that I can seclude myself from this world and gosh darn it, I'm getting very good at that. Thank you, Easy Allies. Thank you, Internet. Thank you, Patreon, YouTube, Twitch. Thank you, everybody that helps support this business where we can work from our office and work from home. But it is unavoidable that I will be around children, that I will be around the elderly repeatedly. And so it's just like, we're seeing some companies that have just very harsh restrictions, 2-week restrictions on quarantines, where it's just like, if you're going to do anything, you can't come into the office, you can't work. And in some ways at Easy Allies, we can be renegades. We can write our own rules. We can do things the way that we want to do them. I think that is part of the delay of us, announcing this after some of your favorite outlets also announcing and canceling events that they were planning on doing. It's like, hey, we're Easy Allies. We'll do what we want to do. At the same time, when we are faced with these things, when all of a sudden, this business, switches very quickly from, hey, this is goofy, we're making fun videos, to, are we potentially putting people's lives at risk? Do we need to be the uncomfortable, taskmaster, teacher, adults in the room where we make a decision that obviously some people are never going to forget? I completely sympathize if you are very angry with us, and please direct all of that anger at me. Email me, Brandon@easyallies.com. Let me know how difficult this was for you. Leave posts. Next week this isn't going to be over. We want to talk about this, and again, I'll talk about specifically the details about what we're going to be doing next in 2 weeks instead of doing EZX. But if this affected you in ways you need me to understand, I am here to listen to that. Whether you want to ask a question, whether you want that to be public on next week, Cup of Jones, my DMs are open. this is I've said this many times. Easy Allies is a ongoing conversation. It's a circular experience. You know, we do something, you comment on that. We comment on your comments. You leave questions for us. We respond, and then we want that conversation to continue going, not just with Asbo Zapruder about musicals, about everything. So yeah, I want to hear about it. I want to know the impact, obviously on all fronts that this had, because this is a business, and we need to be smart about it. When you are smart about those things, when you are careful about those things, when you're doing things the way that they should be done, then you get the opportunities to have fun. Then you get to goof off if things are, if the rent is paid, if you make sure people aren't getting sick, if you make sure you're being safe, if you practice caution whenever you can. But gosh darn it, I wish we didn't have to do that. And again, for everybody affected, I'm very, very sorry. So I hope if you need to take it out on somebody, if you need a punching bag, again, direct all that stuff at me. Don't take it out on the other allies, because I definitely led the charge in terms of trying to make that difficult decision. And I think up until we made the decision, again, we had some allies that were very much for, some allies that were very much against, and some allies like me that were on the fence. I was on the fence for a very long time, because this company works on, if we are a locomotive, blazing down the tracks, the coal that we are shoveling into that fire to keep that engine running is love, respect, is jolly feelings, is just a sense from our community that they are involved in something. This feels very antithesis to that. This feels like we are rejecting our community in a sense. It feels like we are shoving you away, and that's such a ugly feeling. I really don't like it. But it's a decision that we had to make. So blah, blah, blah. I don't want to blub anymore through all of this. But again, just wrapping it up by saying thank you for understanding. So to clarify, I should have done this at the top. I apologize. We did this in our somewhat in our tweet. Again, we tried to blast this around to social media. We have not made a YouTube video specifically about it yet. Maybe we can repackage this editorial so everybody understands, where we're all coming from. But to clarify, we are no longer attending any of the 3 events. We're not going to Disneyland on Saturday. We are, we've canceled our reservation at the Hilton Anaheim. We understand some of you may potentially be staying there. I am certainly, lazy. And so if I was in the community, that was definitely, if I could afford it, that's definitely where I would stay. I would want to be right there in the center of the action, but we will not be at Room Pacific A. You go to Room Pacific A, it will be locked. Nobody will be there. And the following day, I even picked out a park. I was going to announce it today, the park that we were going to be going to, which people watch fireworks from, which I was like looking at the parks in Anaheim, and all of them had pictures of people watching fireworks from the parks around Disneyland. And I was like, of course, that's a fun idea if you live in Anaheim to go to the parks and watch fireworks. We're not going to the park. If you intend to cancel, we encourage you to mention that the coronavirus was involved in your cancellation. You were planning on attending an event. If you were at the Hilton Anaheim, they know what EasyX is. That is the name of, EasyX is the name of the event. And so, or if you were around, surrounding hotels, we have heard stories from people that either were at the Hilton or not, and did mention EasyX. I don't know if other hotels get registration, information on events that are happening at other hotels as well. This is one of the biggest issues that we went back and forth and talking about, specifically how we were going to address. We might reschedule this. We might be able to do that. Now it seems like the absolute worst time to talk about that, to plan that, to talk about a ballpark of when that could possibly be. We have no idea. We just absolutely have to turtle up and just go to our studio and just, try to pump out as much content as we can to make up for having to make this decision and to make up for how this is affecting our community. We might, do something different to celebrate it. Obviously, this, our next anniversary, it'll definitely be interesting, kind of like revving this all these plans back up again, to do another anniversary celebration. But we just don't want to do anything concrete. And apologies because I feel bad even mentioning that, because kind of similar to the Patreon post that we put up where we're like, we're thinking about canceling, we don't know. Got a lot of responses from people that are like, my anxiety is spiking, man. I just need to know what the hell is going on. So us saying like, well, we might do Easy X again. It's just like, it just feels it feels bad to say that. It feels bad to get people's hopes up, because we don't know. We don't know when that would be. We don't know how we would do that. We don't know what the event would be like if we were to do it again. So let's just say no for right now, that is not in the cards, that is not likely something that will happen. But we don't want to rule it out completely. But I know that is a question that probably a lot of you have. And again, like I said, if you do have more specific questions that I am not addressing in this editorial, then mention those next week, and we will go through all of them. What we are doing is streaming for 6 days straight, for 8 days each day. We are going to stream Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, from noon to 8 Pacific time, starting on the 22nd, which is the day that we were originally supposed to be streaming for Easy X. We tossed around a lot of ideas of like different streams, like what does our week look like? What other days can we do streams? Can we do streams at this time? And shout out actually to Ian Hank, who's the first person that's like, hey, why don't we stream every day? Like literally, why don't we just spend just a crazy amount of time? And I know that can be frustrating because our audience is segmented in a lot of ways. Some people are mostly into following our content on Patreon. Some people are mostly pay attention to social media. Some people cannot watch Twitch or not fans of Twitch. And some people don't really watch our podcasts and our YouTube shows or reviews or anything. They're kind of more focused on Twitch. And so it does feel odd having the make good that we are attempting to do with our marathon stream the week of our anniversary be a Twitch focused thing, but we want it to be something that is live. We want it to be something that is extended, something that there is just a wealth of. Actually, some of these days right now are closer to 10 hours in the schedule so far. Yeah, we got a lot. We're going to be announcing the schedule tomorrow. We are scheduled to announce it tomorrow. I think there's a little bit of back and forth about specifically when we're going to announce it. Seems proper to announce it during our group stream so we can talk about what we're going to be playing and why. I can tell you right now, Animal Crossing is in that schedule several times. And it still feels bad right now to get excited about that. I will talk a little bit more about that next week. We will, again, just kind of like ramp up hopefully the enthusiasm towards that live event, because I think that will be a blast. It was definitely a mood shifter on this weekend when we figured out potentially we were going to do that, because we were all pretty down in the dumps. We were all pretty scared about how our audience would react to this. We were all just kind of, our heads were spinning, because this is a decision unlike really anything we have ever made before at Game Trailers, at Easy Allies. Really, in my professional career, I've kind of never been in a situation like this, having to make a massive business decision that affects my bottom line and my audience so significantly based on a health concern, based on an international epidemic. That's a first. And so it feels bad, honestly, a little bit, to be honest, to be like, yay, our marathon stream, because I know a lot of people are like, losing hundreds of dollars, not being able to see you guys, not being able to be there in person, and then just sitting back and watching you stream for everybody, like that does not equal. I totally understand that. We just thought, I even felt bad using the verbiage that I did in the Patreon post where I said it was the next best thing. I'm like, is it? I can't speak obviously for a community to if that is adequate, but it will be a lot of fun. I am really excited about it. There's a lot of fun games in there. Not all of the allies will be there all of the days. I believe Tuesday we are all planning to be there, every single ally in-house, but obviously for stamina purposes, we can't. That will be pretty intense with all of the other responsibilities that we have that week. There will be reviews. I will be reviewing Animal Crossing that week. I will be playing as much of Animal Crossing as I possibly can, so you might see me on the back couch with a laptop, just like, burning through and capturing as much footage as I can. But when you see the schedule, you'll see who's involved. You'll see what games that they're working on. We'll talk about all of that stuff. And obviously that stuff will be in flux. Some of you might have fun suggestions over stuff that we can stream. And just like anything, like E3 or any multi-day event, I'm sure it will change as the event itself is going on. But Blood is doing a wonderful job of regulating chat. I've just kind of glanced over a chat every now and then. But yes. I know that there's some things on that list that people have been talking about for a while, And once the ball gets rolling, sometimes with our marathon streams when we pick games, there kind of tends to be like, oh yeah, we could play that. Oh, you know what would be a good idea? Oh wait, we would play that. Oh wait, okay, I was gonna be there on Thursday, but now okay, well I'll be there on Monday because you're playing. And then we start to get excited about doing a new event. Events, man, events have always been so tough in terms of relinquishing that power. Previously it was relinquishing that power to another entity, be it a venue that did not necessarily treat us that well, a university that, while they have a dynamite film program and are very conveniently centrally located to the city of Los Angeles, might have some students that might, kind of botch, contract negotiations and forget to bring cameras. And so there's always just been some kind of issue, but this absolutely takes the cake. So there we go. Jesse Blue jumped in. Thank you, Jesse. Jumped in right at the last minute to actually comment after the cancellation had been made with a question that I'm going to bring up before I get into standard business questions and we move on from this topic until I get more questions from people. I know that there's a whole post devoted to the Allies' decision about EasyX, but I was wondering if they are still considering rescheduling, even though you talked during Cup last week that really the only good time to have some kind of big events would be February, April, August. Again, not talking about months at all. No way we're doing this again before E3. No way. Because you have to keep in mind, we started planning this in December. I booked this room in, early December. So, hey, at least USC had lights. That's true. I remember the piano wasn't plugged in our first year. They were like, oh yeah, where's the power cable for the piano? I'm like, this is something we need to plan months in advance, something that we need to give our audience months to figure out whether they have the time to do it, to clear their schedule, to work on finances. Broke my heart because saw a lot of people in that first post that were like, hey, I saved up for months and months and months for this. And if you're not getting that money back, I understand if you are wary in attending any Easy Allies event in the future. 2020 is an interesting time to be alive. That something like this could impact the world and spread so quickly and really affect everybody. Would they consider doing an EasyX redemption instead of having Easy Living? That has been floated around. Easy Living is usually in August, and so it was like, is August a good time to do it? But again, none of this is set in stone. Since you guys are basically doing that now without the beach house, it would save you guys some time in the expense, since you would have to put the expense into re-rent the space and equipment. We don't rent any equipment. All the equipment that we use for Easy Living and the equipment that we were going to use for EasyX is all in-house. We were going to borrow a table from the Hilton. That was it. I'm wondering, because I'm still on the fence about whether I should try to get a refund or credit on my flight or come out anyways and just meet up with some of the other allies. I will repeat this again. I will say this to you, Jesse. Make decisions for yourself based on EasyX being flat canceled. Yeah. That's the safest way that we have to approach this moving forward, is that we're not. This is it. That was our shot to do that event the way it is, and we may find opportunities in the future to do things that will hopefully continue to make up for having to go back on promises that we made, deals that we made, plans that we asked our community to make. But it feels, after the situation that we were in and the situation that we put all of you through, to then go back in time and start the whole process over of like, okay, time to make more promises, feels like we were doing you a disservice. It feels like we were being incredibly naive. It just feels wrong. It just feels like not the smart thing to do. So I can't make that decision for any of you. I have no idea how difficult it was for you individually, and I mean you, person listening to this, watching this live or otherwise, toward, because for some, obviously it's finances. For some, obviously it is time. It's moving that weekend. You might have had a friend that had a birthday or something, and you're like, sorry, dude, I'm going to EasyX. And for some, this absolutely should be addressed before I move on from this issue. It's emotions, like some of you, it's very, very difficult for you to be in a public space. Some of you had to make the difficult decision, like, am I just going to go to the park meetup on Monday because it's a little more my speed? Or do I think I can handle the noise, the attention, just to kind of the high stakes, really, emotionally and physically, of going to the event itself. and then to be caught up in all of that, and then, you know, the rug gets pulled out from under you, and then you're in the position of, well, you know, my friends are still going. Do I go? We cannot make that decision for you. I don't want to lay out really any sort of carrot for, you know, to dangle, to kind of pull you in any one direction. I think as much as it is tough love, I think it is loving and respectful of you to just be honest and just say, you know, don't count on us for any reason to continue to, you know, make your travel plans to California. It sounds like, you know, Captain Katz is making it a California trip. And so some of you might be like, hey, I would never go out to California. If you do EasyX or similar events sometimes later in this year, I'm just not going to go to that. I'm just going to take this opportunity now to go. Because obviously, you know, going to Disneyland is its own risk, you know, traveling is its own risk, staying in a hotel is its own risk. You know, again, just echoing even Amanda, I am at work right now. I am doing my job right now. And so it's nice for me to just be cooped up in my house. But like Amanda doesn't get that luxury. Amanda has to drive around Los Angeles and meet lots of people. And we've had some people come by and look at the house, and they go to shake our hand, and we're like, yeah, like, we really have to be safe. And so we are making decisions. The Easy Allies are. Myself, I am making decisions in my personal and my business life in terms of what risks I'm willing to take, and I have to let you make those decisions for yourself, which sucks. I've said that before. The whole thing sucks. And I'll just wrap up this very long extended editorial by just saying, once again, I'm sorry on behalf of Easy Allies LLC, on behalf of patreon.com/Easy Allies, on behalf of all of the other 8 allies that are on myself, and on behalf of Sophie, who is planning on coming to the park meetup on Monday, on behalf of Disneyland, the Hilton Anaheim, and the state of California, and the county of Los Angeles. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we are in the situation. I know there is a rational side of my brain that's like, man, it's a disease. It's an epidemic. What are you going to do? There's definitely another side of my brain that's just not listening to that. That is just like, this is frustrating. Even in our darkest hours here at Easy Allies, there's always something to learn. You know, there's always something to take away from it. And this is a tricky one in terms of what do you learn? Maybe learning to accept defeat. It's like the lesson here. I'm so grateful for the jobs that we have, the opportunities that we have, whether it is streaming here with you, whether it's just having this job, whether it is getting paid as we did in the beginning of this month from Patreon, or whether it is having the resources and the time to plan an event like EasyX. And so all I want to do is transform all of that into benefits for all of you. And this is not doing that. And it is difficult. So thank you for letting me take my time and talking about all these things. This is almost potentially just a full episode of Cup of Jones, just doing this editorial. Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of love in chat. I'm seeing a lot of people be like, hey, you had to make this call. I just feel like maybe some people that are the most frustrated about this might not feel comfortable. You know, you might see this kind of outpouring of support, and you might be in a really difficult emotional, financial place right now. And so you might feel uncomfortable raising your frustrations publicly because you don't want other people in the community to jump on you and be like, hey, we're only positive about this change. You don't need to be. You can be negative about it. You can be frustrated. You can be mad. Again, if you want to do that in a private way, Brandon@EasyAllies.com, DM me. Message me on Patreon if you are on Patreon, which you probably should be if you're listening to this Cup of Jones. But there we go. Thank you for your patience and understanding. There's a clean out if I decide to clip that out. There we go. Business questions. You gonna click on me, business? Are you gonna work business questions? How are we doing? Nice. Clean. Thanks, everybody. Time to talk about other things. Whew. I could feel it, man. Literally, that decision that we made was a physical presence in my body. I was like, after I made that post, I was just like walking around like, what is this? You know, this kind of buzz like in my nerves and like in my shoulders, just like my stomach. Alexander Zirianov, who again, tip of my hat, sir, to bringing this up on Cup of Jones. last episode or the episode before. I've noticed that Damiani has almost stopped joining the couch during group streams unless an extra player is needed for the game. He also stays behind the camera during Q&A, and we never saw him during the GOTY deliberations. It doesn't look like he has to constantly manage the stream or recording, since he had no problem sitting by your side when you played Metroid Prime for 2 hours. It doesn't look like he no longer feels comfortable in the spotlight, since he still produces his show, joins other podcasts, and streams a lot. It doesn't look like it's a problem of free space in front of the camera, since he doesn't fill empty spots. And I'm sure you are all still good friends and have no problem sitting near each other. If it's not too personal, can you please clarify why seeing Damiani amongst the rest of the allies becomes rarer than seeing Dawn? Two things before I answer this. One, don't assume why people do things emotionally. Let's start there. I think it was maybe Beaten Down Brian that actually had a problem with this comment, and I don't. In 4 years of Cup of Jones, almost 4 years of Cup of Jones, I've only really had a problem with one comment. So all of you are doing pretty darn good. And Alexander Zarianov is an ally that is almost never misses an episode of Cup of Jones and definitely asks the tough questions. Yeah, don't assume why anyone is doing anything for personal reasons. Just make that a blanket rule. And I know we've spoke, Alexander, previously about, you're like, my personality can be somewhat aggressive about these things. And obviously there is a language barrier. You are in Russia, cranking out those subtitles for all of our videos, and we appreciate that. But yeah, don't, specifically the sentence of like, it doesn't look like he no longer feels comfortable in the spotlight. Just making those assumptions about why people do things or why someone's not involved in something, especially because, I'll give you another example. We might need time to take off, for things like, again, Kyle was just gone for personal reasons, and like, we're going to leave it up to Kyle to talk about those. Like, don't ask me about what emotionally Kyle was going through, because I can't speak on behalf of Kyle. And that's the other thing too. I can't tell you why Damiani's making the decisions that he does. I can't tell you why Ian doesn't want to be on the podcast, why Ian would rather be on the control room. Obviously, he is mic'd and he has the camera over there. Damiani definitely, ever since we started, I can't say this, I will give an extremely short answer to this question. Ever since we started, Damiani has been the main Twitch guy. And so when we stream, it is something that he obviously takes very seriously, and he wants to go off very well. And I think one of the things that we'll get into this in the next couple weeks as we move closer to EZX, when you'll kind of get a sense of kind of what we wanted to talk about and what we will be talking about as we move forward. Am I doing Cup of Jones on Monday, on the 23rd? I don't think we really talked about that. Maybe I'll just do a quick recorded thing that I'm just like, hey, we're streaming, go watch that. But we're going to be streaming in a couple hours. I guess I can still do Cup of Jones if we don't start until noon. Never mind. But we want our streaming to be better. We want it to look better. We want it to sound better. We want it to it's kind of an idea. And again, I'll get more into details about this of what I have in mind. Putting together Silver Squad the movie, and admittedly, Silver Squad is so very different from a lot of the other streams. Not only just because of the who is playing it and what game we're playing, but all of the crazy stuff that happened. You can't ask for a Diamond Joey and Dunsparce event to happen in every full playthrough. But Damiani is laser focused on our streams. He really wants that stuff to go well. And I know, and that's another thing too, Alexander, is just like, it's difficult whenever you don't see something happening, when someone's off screen or you don't see somebody that's involved, to make assumptions on what they're doing and why they're doing it. So I know you're saying like, it did make sense because he had no trouble, playing Metroid Prime with you, but then in the group stream, he's off cam. There is plenty to do off cam. He's not just sitting there like playing Tetris 99, like while we're streaming. Like, he's looking at chat, he's changing audio levels. He is there in case anything goes wrong. Like, you've seen potentially, Mike and Mike or Silver Squad or Ian and Don or anything, and like there's some problem with the sync or something happens, like somebody's got to get up and they got to go over and change that. Whereas when we have somebody in that chair that's there attending the entire time, that's how it should happen. Like, you need to have someone in that chair. Like when I was at Sifted, and I was on Game Face, like they had somebody on the controls. Like there was someone that like was managing the audio, was managing the live stream, was making sure technically everything was going well. If we had a smaller team and we had more money to pay other people, they would not be on-camera personalities. They would be or maybe very limited, like, you're supposed to have people. It's like when I go into the booth to read VO, like, you're supposed to have somebody who's not in the booth. You're supposed to have somebody, it's not just me in the booth winging it. I hope I sound good, like, I hope these reads are okay. I hope I'm pronouncing everything okay. Like, professionally in a production space, you need to have somebody that is monitoring the thing that's happening. And so because it's a group stream, because we are all there together, we can afford to do that. We can afford to finally do that one group stream the right way, to have all hands on deck. Damian also loves those memes. He loves to switch back and forth between the game and full cam when we need to. And like you said, joins the stream when he feels like it. I think Goaty was an interesting case. I don't think we thought about that before Goaty. And then once we were into Goaty, we just kind of settled into the groove of him being there and us being on camera. But I will tell you, there has never once been a moment where I have seen Damiani and been in that chair and I've thought, like, how do I get him out of that chair? It's just like he's in his element. That's where Damiani wants to be. Brandon Kagan, when an ally has to step away from EZA activities, totally skip this question. When Brandon K. Gann isn't in Cup of Jones, you know something's up. If I write down all of the questions and I don't get to Brandon K. Gann, that's a red flag. I should realize, wait a minute. So apologies, Brandon. You could have asked 2 questions this week, but you didn't. I appreciate that. When an ally has to step away from EZA activities for a lengthy amount of time, does any given ally's absence impact any metric like views, watch, listen time, etc.? Or do those things stay consistent regardless of who is present? Consistent enough. Like those things fluctuate, but as much as I would love to have a significantly dramatic impact on Easy Allies, like when I'm gone, like, I was definitely nervous. I was curious to see whether our podcast would take a hit with me hosting instead of me moderating, instead of Kyle Bossman, because he had to take a couple weeks off. And he still worked on that podcast. He still did a lot of work, even though he was working from home, from his home, going back to his folks' home. But no, I don't think, and certainly nothing that there would be any way that we could prepare for, or, whenever we have those things, we just kind of bite the bullet. Sounds so intense because that sounds like we regret it happening or we're not looking forward to it. Whereas we are eager to support our fellow allies in any instances, whether it is, we had a 3-person podcast the other day because Ian was gone, and we had an ally that was scheduled to be on that, needed to not be on at the last minute and for personal reasons. We were like, great, go for it. So it feels good to support our allies in that way. Hopefully you can have our backs in those instances and recognize, like, okay, if that person's not there, that's not just because they are like, no, I want to sleep in. It's usually a pretty serious event, or usually something that is necessarily non-negotiable, but something that it does not require a monologue, from the person being affected in terms of why. It's not let me put it this way, it's not a get out of jail free card that I see any one specific ally cashing in on a regular basis. We love our jobs. We love to do what we do. We love to be involved in those things. And so, case in point, the full stream that we have coming up, our marathon stream, everyone was just chomping at the bit and again, kudos to Ian, who did a lot of that scheduling. But Ian sometimes was like, well, you don't necessarily have to be there. You're going to be here on Monday and Tuesday. You don't have to be there Wednesday. And some of the allies were like, I want to be there Wednesday. You're going to be playing this game. I want to be there for that. So people definitely want to be involved. So stuff like that does not get affected enough for us to bother really specifically trying to chart that stuff or make decisions based on traffic alone in those instances. Chun Lao, I, like many allies, enjoyed EZA Reacts to EZA. Why not make that a yearly stream? Just highlight or clips sent to you from the previous year. It can be a kind of a year in review for both of you guys in the community. Plus, they are almost always hilarious. I love the almost always hilarious. Yes, people have suggested that in the past, and I was like, yeah, totally. Forgot that was like coming up. I thought for sure. It just felt like we did EZA Reacts to EZA like 5 months ago, but we didn't. Maybe that's the whole syndrome of just having a kid that just makes like the last 8 months just. But I was like, when did we do that? And I checked in March 20th, 2019. So that is 11 days away, and in 11 days we are not going to do that. That is not the stream that we are planning to do. So we have already scheduled out our, not only obviously the marathon, but our group streams for the month of March. But that might be something we have time for in April. That'll definitely be something that I can suggest to the allies. We have a Holograte, so Hologrades, once that gets factored into the schedule, it's everything kind of has to shift around it. But apologies that I forgot that was coming up. And that was a lot of fun. I don't know if that's something we could do every year, because I think not only was it Easy A reacts to Easy A, it was Easy A reacts to like all of Easy A. So it was us in the studio reacting to a lot of garage moments. So just picking moments from March of 2019 to March of 2020. I don't know if that's enough for a full stream. We'll see. But that'll definitely be something that I recommend. Again, no promises, not locking into the schedule right now, but I'll throw that at the allies and see what they think. Connell, I, like many, really enjoyed your rapport with Rogers Base on the recent Friend Code episode discussing Animal Crossing. I very much enjoyed taking Damiani's podcast Friend Code away from him and sort of co-hosting that episode with Rogers Base. Just kind of being like, yeah, we're just, excuse me, Damiani. So yeah, let's talk about villagers just for a second. Boy, you think you're excited for something, and then you meet someone who's just a little bit more excited than you are, who knows those villagers' names by heart, and you go, okay, touche, Rogers Base. Would you consider inviting him back after the game has been out for a few months for a follow-up discussion? Hell yeah. Spoiler mode on Animal Crossing? Hell yeah. Also, apologies, we haven't done spoiler modes in a lot. We got a lot of those planned for... I don't have the list in front of me. Castlevania is definitely one of them. But when we were planning March, we were like, spoiler modes. Come on, everybody. Let's get those done. Daniel Garza Andrade, how do you and the allies feel about playing games without music during a stream? I think music is a very important part of a game, and playing without it just feels wrong. I know that there are headphones now in the studio, but how do you feel about it? Not 100% sure what you're addressing, whether it's you're aware that sometimes we don't have the music up. Sometimes our group streams, it would just be a little too chaotic with, having the music be loud enough, and then the microphones are picking that up, and then we got a little bit of an echo on top of all of us, the cacophony of all of us speaking over each other and making loud noises. But we definitely do crank stuff up. Like when I played Metroid Prime, I heard all of that music and loved it. So we definitely had the music loud enough. There were some episodes of Silver Squad we had the music up a little bit louder. I gotta be honest, there were moments right now going back through, I'm revisiting in Silver Squad where I'm like, oh, this music rules. Like I was not paying attention to the music at this point. But then again, if it was even louder, I don't know if that would have been more distracting, if I would have been less effective at my type matching in Pokemon had I listened to the music. And I know that there are some streams where we definitely do have headphones on. Case in point, Weekly Hunts. We definitely don't miss a beat when it comes to music. And certainly, if we were going to be playing a game where music was very much a part of that, then we would definitely turn that up. But something I'll keep in mind. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. I don't feel like it's a big concern when we are streaming. But that's what Cup of Jones is for, baby. For us to bring up these weird points that I don't think of that often. And apologies to everybody who is I'm facing this way instead of facing this way. I know it's weird. Evan Donuts, I want donuts now. I just returned from PAX East, and while an Easy Allies presence was missed, at least Beyond My Love and Respect shirt, see y'all next year? Man, hopefully there's a PAX East next year. I was at least finally invigorated by tech and had largely ignored up till now, VR. The game that finally did it for me, Space Team VR. The classic mobile game is reborn by a new developer and supports up to 6 players. After playing the demo on the show floor, I couldn't help but imagine a group stream featuring this and other multiplayer VR. What are the hopes and dreams of VR for Easy A going forward, if any? Is there a possibility of a dedicated space for VR adjacent activities, or will you need to sell the couch every time? Sell the couch? What other challenges does VR streaming pose for the studio? Well, one big issue is that when you talk about 6-player multiplayer, you need 6 VR headsets, so even just doing Bridge Crew with 2 VR headsets was a little taxing back in the day. Yeah, it's tough to have, we have a 6-room office / studio that is very functional, that we can do a lot of fun things in, but that streaming room specifically, there's just a lot of stuff in there. And not enough space to have VR equipment in there all the time. So when we do a VR focused stream, that might change in the future. We might be able to lock down some stuff, and so we can have that stuff in there all the time. But I think the 2 major challenges are, 3 major challenges, not having 8 indexes so that we can do, or 6, Oculuses so we can do 6-player multiplayer. The work entailed in setting all of that stuff and taking all of it down, and just in general, the commitment to really any one platform over another. Doing a platform not because there's a game specifically that we want to play for a group stream, but doing a platform to do the platform. To it's like, we haven't done VR in a while, let's play VR. All of that stuff just naturally has to take a back seat in terms of focusing on the most relevant games that are coming out, focusing on stuff that our community is looking forward to, focusing on stuff that just naturally makes better group streams, even stuff like stretchers that you normally wouldn't think of that a group stream was a hoot, and making time for things like, you know, awards and predictions and reactions and Hall of Greats, and, you know, a tournament here and there, a fundraiser here and there, you know, experimenting with live streams in different ways. VR is definitely one way to do that, and I am shout out to Ben Moore, who's been doing a lot of VR lately. The two of us are I think, kind of one of the more VR focused. And I believe he is scheduled. I thought I might actually be reviewing it eventually, but in the codes list right now, Ben Moore is signed on to review Half-Life Alyx, and I am okay with that because that'll give me more time to play Animal Crossing. But there will be more coverage of VR, you know, Half-Life and otherwise, from Easy Allies in 2020, and hopefully that is something we can do more of. Last year, me reviewing that weird Groundhog Day was an effort in that regard to be like, okay, this is a small enough game that I think I can cover it. Obviously, when Dreams comes to PlayStation VR, that's going to be a huge deal for me personally, whether or not, you know, depending on how much time we make for it at Easy Allies. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Ali Salemi. Now, this is going to be a controversial topic, even among the allies in the community. Here we go. But speaking of Final Fantasy VII Remake, what will be EZA's approach to spoilers in regards to this specific release, the original game and the future parts of the remake? I know you guys originally said that you will be mindful of spoilers and won't spoil stuff in general unless unrelated to EZA videos, since people like myself haven't played the original PS1 version and might want to go into this remake fresh. We might have already crossed that line on the podcast. I know let's say we came as close as I'm willing to, because we were still talking about like the very beginning of this massive 40, 50, 60 hour journey, depending on how much time you take, playing through the original Final Fantasy VII, which I'm doing right now. Very slowly. I'm still, you haven't blown up the reactor yet. I'm still at the very, very beginning. But we talked about, you know, and maybe you can kind of back out of those decisions. We do have the timestamps on the podcast, so if you see that stuff coming, like, "Ooh, they're about to talk about Final Fantasy VII," let me just, you know, skip ahead to the next topic of discussion. But we were talking a little bit about like where would it end? Like where I'm not going to get into spoilers now, but like where will Final Fantasy VII Remake end? What will they call the next one? Remake 2? You know, what? How much will they change it? But after the last Hall of Greats and one of the podcasts a few weeks ago, where both featured pretty significant Final Fantasy VII spoilers beyond that one scene everyone knows about, without any prior warnings, I wonder if your approach to FF7 Remake and its spoilers has changed now. Is there a general list of non-Final Fantasy related EZA shows and streams that I should avoid in the coming years if I want to keep Final Fantasy VII related spoilers out? I'm not mad or angry about it or anything like that, at least not anymore, LOL. I'm just genuinely trying to enjoy your content while keeping Final Fantasy VII Remake and its future parts fresh for myself. Yeah, sure. I think it's prudent to bring this up to the rest of the allies. Be like, maybe just, you know, as we get closer to the release of this game, maybe just back off about specifically being like, oh yeah, that one classic scene. Hey, I'm just talking about Final Fantasy VII. I think one thing generally we are not going to talk about at all is that we did talk about in our Final Fantasy VII preview coverage. So I would definitely stay away from that if you don't want spoilers for Remake. I think that factors really into any preview coverage of any game. If you're just like, I'm excited about it, but I don't want it spoiled. Like, well, then don't watch that preview. Just go play the game. Well, you know, click on it to give us the view, obviously. But yeah, I understand if we're talking about that old stuff, and you know, it just like Resident Evil 2, just like Resident Evil 3, these lessons also apply to that. It's a unique case. We are definitely in an era of some pretty high budge, you know, potentially game of the year winning, definitely winning if you were in our community, if you were in the Easy Allies forums. These are big remakes that are happening, and so I think one thing that we definitely want to axe, and just I will shut people up right away if they talk about like, oh, that scene was different, you know, like, oh, and now that I've played that the remake, I noticed that this scene is like, okay, that's too much. That's like an actual spoiler. That's the exact same as if you were spoiling a game that just came out now. So, but you bring up a good point that maybe our feet are getting a little too close to the fire. Maybe that's something that we should reevaluate. Not necessarily something that we should, like, you know, slap our wrists and feel bad about our conduct in the past. But it's a very good point that you're like, I would like to avoid those things, and it's been hard. as a fan of Easy Allies. Straw Hat Ninja. People are losing their minds waiting for the next Nintendo Direct, but I really enjoyed your reaction to the Animal Crossing Direct. I was wondering, since Nintendo does these Directs pretty early, yes they do, East Coast baby, will you continue to just do a reaction later in the day? I thought it worked out great, and I enjoyed watching the Direct in the morning and then watching my favorite people react later on. Well, there you go. Yeah, why wouldn't we? Sounds good. Glad that works out. It does feel bad. Like there is a sense of like, it's just, I mean, obviously I think our views are drop significantly if we were doing one versus the other, but if our community likes it, that's worth it for me in a lot of instances. Morgan Mohala, what level of influence does EZ have in the video game industry? Small fries, as we like to say. Hashtag small fries. Do the Allies have access to industry insiders at a level that you prefer, or is that something you would like to improve? Always improve. I mean, that's a dragon you're chasing forever. Blood adds, some of the FF7 stuff is harder to avoid since they're being more overt about it earlier on. Like, you can't really expect not to comment on it. Yes. It's not necessarily like a comment on it, just be aware. It's just a nice thing to be aware of, like, let's be aware that we're doing this. If we're talking about those things in the podcast, if we're talking about the ending, again, and that stuff's timestamped. So if you're watching that on YouTube, and again, you see that love and respect question that was like, oh, let's talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, I'm going to jump to the next one. Heck yeah, I'm taking a sip of coffee. We never not want to improve our access to industry insiders. Just, maybe not to like a Jason Schreier level of like, give us all the secrets. I don't necessarily want to be burdened with all of that, crazy stuff. But yeah, there are companies that we wish we were more in contact with, Nintendo. But there are definitely opportunities, the preview events we miss out on, stuff that we are constantly knocking on the door. And I think one of the biggest things that shout out to Daniel Bloodworth, who's got to deal with this more than anybody else, is establishing ourselves as media instead of influencers. To a lot of people, they're like, "Oh, you're influencers." It's like, no, we're media. We're come on, man. Game Informer, Games Radar, GameSpot, IGN, Kind of Funny. It's us. What's Good Games? We're media. Give us the media badge. We're here to cover your game. All of them. We're not just like, no, we mostly just play Fortnite. And you're like, no, we're not. We are in that industry. Come on now. Also, is EZA unique enough from other video game media on the internet to attract viewers and guests? Yes. That is the hope. Fingers crossed. I already know you are, but I wonder about the appeal to first-time viewers or potential guests who may not know what you are all about and what EZA is doing to get their hooks into people. Yeah, again, that's what the spoiler modes are for. That's what reactions, I mean, that's the only reason, but that's what reactions are good for. That's what reviews are good for. That is definitely a cornerstone of our brand, is us reacting to stuff, is us being like, whoa, that thing happened in the Easy Allies podcast and Frame Trap. That thing happened in the industry. What do we think about it? How are we going to react to that? If you see said thing happen in the industry, maybe head on over to Easy Allies, see what they did, see how that shook them. But just talking in general about how connected we are, it changes publisher by publisher. For instance, you have someone like Cory Barlog, who is a friend of the Allies. You have somebody like Shuhei Yoshida, who's a friend of the Allies. Like, you have people that know us, that you have Media Molecule, who is comfortable in coming into the studio. You have a lot of Japanese publishers and developers that are very comfortable working with Ben, that Ben has reached out to and set up meetups in the studio. A couple of which actually, we've just like recorded interviews and stuff, not necessarily done like live developer showcases with those developers, but so it's a case by case basis. There's no one thing that we do the same way for every company, and that's just how you have to manage those things, because it sucks that once you get really in with a company and you get to know somebody and you've worked with them for a long time, and then they move companies and you're like, wait, whoa, like what? And then you reach out to the new person at that company and maybe they don't really understand kind of, what Easy Allies is all about, or takes a while to kind of build that relationship back up again. And so again, yeah, case by case. Joseph LaRussa. What's the deal with Silver Squad? Final Best Moments movie upload. I've been waiting on the archive, so I'm curious where it is. It'll be ASAP. I would like to get it done by tomorrow. Tomorrow is the goal. It'd be a fun thing to put up along with our group stream to make tomorrow a fun, yay! Like, here's our schedule for, let's try to keep a little optimism here. Here's our schedule for our anniversary week, and here is, here's this fun 4-hour thing for you to watch that I've put a lot of work into. Matthias Mistblocker. Mistle Blocker. I noticed that there were no ads on this week's podcast, number 204. Has the process of getting ad money through Roost been more complicated than anticipated? Sure. Everything we've never done before is always more complicated than we anticipate. Or is it just growing pains? It's both. Basically, the process that we're in right now with ads on the podcast is we are going... we get to decide which ads we want on the podcast. And there have been ads that were like, no, that's just not a good fit for our community or for us, or, you know, it's not necessarily something, and, you know, it's been a change of pace, but it's been really fun, to get these fun, you know, it's like, thank you, Easy Allies, for, having the patience for us to go with Roost, because I got free access to Shudder, you know, on, AMC Shudder, and got to watch some fun horror movies, got to rewatch Escape from New York, and, got some earbuds, and got, VPN access for free, and, you know, a lot of fun stuff to try out and really weigh its value with our community. How do we communicate these products to our community? And so obviously there are some things that are good and good fits, and some things that are bad fits for that. So there's the process on our end in deciding what are those fits, and then there's the equal process, and probably more complicated and long process of the products themselves, deciding if Easy Allies is a good fit. Not only just judging us by our views and by our content and by our relationship with Roost, by how they define us within the company, which we don't necessarily have a ton of control over, because we've kind of, you know, they know who we are, but we've kind of passed on that responsibility to them. That's the point of going with an ad network, is that you don't have to deal with all of that stuff anymore. And then they have to decide, is Easy Allies a good fit for our product? Is this a good community that we want to sell our product to? And then once they make that decision, and they do give us some ad, choose to buy ad time basically on our network, then they see how we do. They see how I do in those reads. They see how excited we are about those products, and then they decide whether they want to move forward with us. So you're not just buying the ad, you're buying the episodes. You know, you're deciding, how long do I want these, how many instances do I want my name to pop up on that podcast, and on what dates, how frequently. And so sometimes that means we get 2 ads in one podcast. Sometimes that means we don't get an ad. And again, like you accurately described it with growing pains, this stuff takes time. And so what you are hopefully looking at is kind of the beginning steps of getting all of those ads in, and then a month or potentially a year down the line, once we are more in the groove of working with products and ad companies that are familiar with us and know what to pitch to us and know how our community works and know what's right for Easy Allies, then you will see a more consistent layout, I guess, rollout of what ads that we do on the podcast. Asbo Zapruder, yup, sure. But like, if Easy Allies was a young Puerto Rican woman about to meet the man she loves, would she feel pretty, witty, or bright? Why do we have to decide? That's what I want to know. Why do we have to decide? I mean, I'll rank them. I would say witty, and then bright, and then pretty, I would say. Depends on if I shaved. But I would say in that order. If it's got to be one, I would put witty up top. I think we're bright. Maybe we're bright. Nah, we're probably bright. It's probably bright, and then witty, and then pretty. I feel bright. Oh, so bright. I feel bright and witty and pretty. Y'all got to know what that's from, right? I hope some of you know what that's from. Some of these I know are obscure. Some of these I know are weird. I'm not going to mention what that's from. But that is a really good musical. That's a really good film. And we're talking about movie musicals, and I'm not a big fan of a lot of them. But that's a good one. That's a really, really, really good one. That's a fun... I'm not going to say what it is. You know what that is. I feel pretty. Could be. Who knows? There's something good on its way. I will know right away as soon as it shows. You should know this music. Yes, you should look it up. Go see it. Maybe it's on Amazon. Who knows? Serato 23. There we go. Some people know. Seratos 23. But really fun. Look up that Wikipedia page. That's a fun musical when that came to Broadway. That was a very interesting story. Again, bringing that musical knowledge into Cup of Jones during business questions. I know. But that was a very, it's still a very topical, musical. Still is extremely relevant, especially in the city that it takes place in and the time that it is set in. But when that launched on Broadway, that was a very interesting production. Seratos23. I know that there have been a few questions lately regarding a FAQ for Cup of Jones, and you have stated that you don't mind answering the same questions over and over and over again, but I think you may be forgetting about another reason why an FAQ would be helpful for the community. I think a lot of the people that listen to your show listen on a weekly basis, like me. And while it's great you don't mind answering these questions, having to listen to the same questions and answers every week can get a little grating. Yes, definitely. I think the FAQ would be helpful just as much for you as it would be for the community. I may be completely off base here, and it may be just me. If so, please ignore and proceed with your regularly scheduled programming. No, I'm way in line with you, Serato. It's just Seratos, total back burner thing. Just something I put off for a long, long time. Just like new graphics, I put that off for a while. P.S. One of the reasons you have stated for not having an FAQ yet is the amount of work it would take. So would you be opposed to a community-backed FAQ? Again, that would take work. It would take work to manage it and to get and some people have suggested, and I use that as a template. It's just something I've just, again, I put all of it off. Is the amount of work it would take. So would you be opposed to a community-backed FAQ where we take your questions to the questions and record them somewhere the community can see? I think if we do put up that FAQ, it would probably be in the forums, and then people would, so it would be the best of both worlds. I would initially make a forum post that would be the FAQ, and then people could then add to the FAQ in the comments below, and then we would change the pinned version. And then in every single episode of Cup of Jones, I'd be like, hey, if your question didn't come up and I mentioned it, or maybe by takeaways, I'll have like an FAQ thing where I'm just like, the following questions or the following little bits, if thank you to this name, this name, this name, and this name for your question. It was check the FAQ for the answer, and I'll do that in the future. Asbo Zapruder double dipping though. Oh wait, hold on. Where we take your answers to the questions and record them somewhere the community can see. Yeah. So yes, that is creeping up the to-do list. Finally, Asbo Zapruder, double dipping. Do you know when you'll be releasing the non-patrons version of the Easy Allies video promo? No. Hopefully by our anniversary. It's not. I don't call it the non-patrons version. It's the YouTube version. The video that I already created, our promo, is to promote our patreon.com/easyallies. The version that I will be cutting later will be to promote YouTube and just generally introduce probably the easiest introduction to Easy Allies, the Easy Allies introduction. Takeaways, follow up with Rogers Base after Animal Crossing comes out, and a wonderful suggestion from Seratos there about the FAQ. And this is normally when I would bump into the editorial, but I'm done. I already did the editorial. So yeah, let's have another sip of coffee, folks. Let's all have another sip of coffee. Drink it if you got it. Oh boy. Gotta get R2 a little higher here. Gotta get R2 like up here. Gotta find something. I can put R2. And again, I might, I'm gonna change this a little bit. As long as I'm here. And as I mentioned, we're gonna be moving. No real accurate timeline of when that's gonna be happening, but there will be some kind of sayonara garage something, an episode of Cup of Jones, a stream, who knows. But I also will be moving. And so that'll be weird. Cup of Jones will be weird in that process. You might, just like moving into the studio and changing this room around, you might get a couple of like in progress Cup of Joneses where I'll answer some of the questions, but you might see me on my phone being like, all right, packing stuff up. If you, maybe I'll take some pictures around the room, but there's a lot of boxes over there. There's a big mountain of boxes. I know you all love pictures of boxes so much. Need to make some more coffee. I was up late playing cool games. I was up late watching cool games. That's another thing, too, about all of the detailed work that I've been doing. I don't want to oversell it, but if you saw the 4+ hour Silver Squad highlight video, and you're like, I'm thinking about it, I'm looking forward to the new one, but how different is going to be? It's a lot different. I snipped a lot of stuff out. I'm cutting nearly a half an hour of stuff out of it, added a couple of shots, cleaned up the order of some things that I goofed for some reason. There were a lot of clips that just like one of us would start talking right when it clipped. So all that stuff is clean. Added some art here and there, did a lot of close-ups on some of the funnier moments. And I am really, really, really enjoying it. I am really, really enjoying going through that video and reliving that stuff. So hopefully you will enjoy watching it as well. It just, I am enjoying it so much because I am taking such careful time with it. And that is in turn delaying it like crazy. But this would be a week that I would just absolutely love to give you something, to give you, our community, anything, whether you're into Silver Squad or not, to just express gratitude for, again, to wrap up this somewhat uncomfortable Cup of Jones episode where we had to make a difficult financial decision this weekend to express admiration, love, respect, jolly vibes, for everything that all of you do for us. We wanted EasyX to be something that we did for you. It didn't turn out that way, but we want to, in turn, maybe take that as an opportunity to do more things for you that we can. One thing that we wanted to do is we were planning on doing a lot of giveaways. We had a lot of things. We had a specific like category of stuff that we had in the office that we, none of us were going to take home, and we didn't really see any use for it in any of the stuff that we were going to be shooting. And so it was like going to be fun to hand that stuff out. But as obviously was evidenced in the decision-making process around EasyX, the exchanging of goods is problematic right now, and will likely be problematic for the next couple of months, maybe for the rest of the year. Hopefully there will be more times to party, more times to get together to celebrate this wonderful community that we have, because it is an absolute gift to all of us, and we just want to keep those gifts flowing. Blood says, yeah, crap, I got a pile of goodies to put away now. Maybe there's a place we can organize. It's good that it's organized though, Blood. We got to find a place we can put that in the studio, not on the shelves, maybe somewhere else. Shout out to Blood that organized a lot of that stuff. That I kind of built our office, and it was just like, or the storage room. I was just like, close that door and lock that. And since Ian and Dawn have been like taking stuff out and just kind of putting it back, and it is time to clean that stuff up. We're still going to party, man. We're still going to party it's going to be a different kind of party, but we are going to party hardy for our anniversary, and we hope you will all join us, and we will have more information this week and leading up to the event itself about exactly what that party will entail. It's just a couple minutes, an hour and a half away from, maybe 2 hours? 2 hours. Hour and a half or 2 hours away from hanging out with Michael Huber and Michael Damiani, twitch.tv/EasyAllies. Go check them out. Thank you for your patience and understanding, everybody. I'm going to mouse over. Blood recommended the mousing over. Let's see if it works. Let's see if holding that mouse there and just chilling before we click that button will give us the nice, clean outro that we wish for. And that, considering everything that has gone wrong lately, hopefully this can go right. Fingers crossed, everybody. I love you all so much. Thanks. Cheers.